Okay. I'm going to do a presentation on FM2, which is File Manager 2. Next slide, please. FM2 has a whole lot of features, some of which I've never used even. Most things can be performed in multiple ways, as you might expect. Accelerator keys, unfortunately not CUA standard compliant, but there are function keys. Drag and drop, just a little note about drag and drop. OS2 has a limit for dragging files that's basically based on a 64K buffer. So you can only get so many file names in, so obviously the number of files is limited by the length of the path names. So you will find that it does really strange things when you exceed that. So if you've got a huge directory or something, try to drag it in pieces. If I remember right, it was, on real short files, it was somewhere around 1,500. And on real long file names, I think I got it down to about 300 or 400, which was the most you could drag at one time. Also as, yes?
And drag and drop from network devices. Sorry, drag and drop for network devices.
It works sometimes.
Yeah, my experience is dragging and dropping from a network device is problematic. Even opening a window in PM mode to list the files is problematic.
FM2 works fine to open a window with the files on a network drive over a Samba server. Now,
not a window, I don't mean a window as in a command window, I mean as a PM window.
No, I'm talking about a file container.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems to work fine. I have never seen a problem with that.
I'll send you photos.
Okay, I believe you.
Yeah.
It also is set up so that you can put your own utilities in to do various things, like file compare. I happen to use KDiff. There's a lot of options out there. You can also do a file compare with a link drag, which is basically shift control mouse button 2 and drop one file on another one, and it'll open your compare utility and compare them. Next slide. There's a set of system tools. Kill process, which actually uses psat in the background to get the list of processes. Undelete works with the OS2 delete directories. And then you can call check disk, partitioning functions, the palettes, command line, all from different menu items in OS2. And it just calls the utilities from OS2. It doesn't do them itself. Next slide. You can create objects directly. You can click on it and choose to create an object or a shadow, and it will create it, and you can put it wherever you would like to put it. You can also create Java objects from jar files. You can pre-select which Java executable you want, and then you pick that, and it creates the object to run that jar file. Next slide. File viewing. It has both a built-in viewer and a built-in editor. You can also select in the settings to make any viewer or editor that you prefer to use the default, and they don't have to be the same. You can have one viewer in a different program as the editor. You also can have both text viewers and editors and binary viewers and editors. The FM2 utilities, which is a separate package from FM2 itself, also provides basic image viewers. Some of the problems, it uses MMOS2 for associations, and with JPEGs installed, it does funny things in that it'll try to view exe files and other things like that, because the JPEG plugin apparently holds up its hand when asked if it can view something and just simply says yes. Doesn't matter what it is. And what's sadder is I should fix that because I have the source code to the JPEG plugin. Then viewing files, it also has a simple media player, and that is also broken because the MP3 player does a similar thing inside, so that it tries to play a bunch of other things that it shouldn't. And again, I should fix that because I'm the maintainer of that particular plugin. And associations. FM2 has its own internal associations, so that if I double click on something, I can open it in something different than the OS2 association. An example of where I do that is for WPI files. The association in here is WPI view, which basically opens a view of the contents of the WPI file, and also allows me to pull the WIS file out. And I use it because when I'm developing a package, I like to look in the package to see that I actually managed to package all the files that I had intended to package. If I hold down the control key and double click, I will then open it in Warpin, because it'll then use the OS2 association. So also have toolbars, which you can customize, which allows you to simply, you can either drag and drop files onto them, like if you have an editor on your toolbar, you can drag and drop a file on it, or you can select the file in a container and click on the button and it'll open it in that particular editor. This is a picture of the association creation box, and I don't know, can you, yep. I figured you can't read it. But anyway, you can, what you do is you put in a list of file extensions, basically, and then you select, there's a select button where you can go in and find the exe program that you want to associate with that. Next slide. Have a bunch of utility programs. It has an archiver, it has any file reader. The asterisk, as you will note, is because there's also a standalone program that you can run for just that function. Does regular and extended attributes. Yes, Keith?
I have yet to find any critical EA, and I have a program which scans complete this. Have you ever found a critical EA?
No, neither has Steve Levine.
Which probably means there aren't any, but...
That probably does mean there aren't any.
Okay.
If people don't know what a critical EA supposedly is, It is an EA that if it were removed from the program would not run. So, yeah.
Yeah, here, yeah, you turn on the Wayback Machine, but that was, like 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago now. Yeah, that you would see the critical EAs where stuff wouldn't run. Not anymore. I remember that from 2.2 and 3.0.
Yeah, I've never seen a critical EA.
Well, I've never seen a critical EA, and as I say, I wrote a program to look at EAs, and one of the things I was looking for, what do I have to do if we find a critical EA? But, okay. Maybe they've been, what do we call that? Duplicated. Something like that.
Next slide. Okay, the next several slides I'm just going to run through. What they are is they're a list. The archiver program is a wrapper. It does not actually do the archiving. And this is a list of the various packages that OS2 supports out of the box, where the instructions to use it are already built in. But these programs have to be in the path, or you have to edit the archiver to put the full path name into them. So next slide, there's zips, then there's LZH, zoo, RAR, ARJs. Next slide. ARC, tar, tar gzip. Next slide. 7Z, bzip, gzip. Next slide. RPMs and cabinet pro. And next slide. And that's a picture of the box where you select which archiver you want to use. Some of the archivers you can't create archives with, like RPM, for example. You can't make an RPM with it. You can just view and extract. And the extract is a little strange in that it's an all or nothing thing. You have to extract the entire package. You can't just get one file out. And that's a limitation of the programs that are used to do it. Next slide. This is a picture of the box where you can edit an archiver and give it different instructions. But since I know you can't read it, basically there are boxes there as to what the command is to add, what the command is to extract, what the command is to extract a single file, to list, to test, different things. While it will complain if you don't fill in, for example, the add command, you don't put something in there, it will complain. It'll also let you do it. And so if you're doing something like an RPM, or I intend to actually add WPI files also, so that you can view them directly. You can do that when you're doing these different editing. It also will let you look at the archiver headers so you can kind of get an idea of what the start and the finish lines look like so that you can add those in. Next slide. There's some file organization tools. We've got compare directories. See all files, pulls up all the files on a drive. Probably not real useful in that you would have to scroll forever to get through my build drive, which is 200 or 300 gigabytes. So it's just a huge flat file, basically, that you're looking at. Also has a seek and scan, and it's got a dupe finder that does the same thing that Alex's little program does. Next slide. This is the compare directories. You can get a little idea. You see the blank line on the one side. That indicates that the file in the other box is not duplicated in this one. But it's quite nice for figuring out why something isn't working because you've got the wrong DLL somewhere, things like that. Next slide. Seek and scan. Again, since you can't read it on the screen, I'll just go on. Next slide. Some file organizing tool, the file collector, which basically you can put any collection of files you want. If you wanted to look at all the text files on a drive, I can collect them all up into this collector and then then scroll down through to find whatever text file I'm actually looking for. There's a INF and help file viewers, which use the bookshelf and the help paths to pull up all of the help files on your system. And then you can save file names to clipboard or to a file. If you save them to a file, you can set the parameters that you want. You can save just the file name. You can save the file name plus the date plus the time plus whatever of those different things you'd like to have to check on later. One other nice thing that Compare Directories does is you can create a snapshot file of a directory. And that means you can pull up that snapshot file 6 weeks later and compare it to the current directory to see what has changed in that directory over a period of time. You also can do directory sizes, which is really quite nice. You pull up the directory sizes and it shows you how much is in each particular directory, which is really useful to find out what you've messed up when you suddenly find your drive is completely full. It lets you quickly find out which directory contains the problem. And so you can go in and correct it. Also, there's vtree if you like the drives folder on PM. This is basically the exact same thing as a drives folder that you can open, and it'll then, if you click on it, it'll open a separate window that's the directory container that you selected. So it works essentially just like PM. Next slide. You can create states, which what that is you have your directory containers, which you want to have 2 particular or 3 particular directory containers. You can then save that. It also will save how each container is sorted, how each container is filtered if you have filtered it. And then what you can do is if you use that particular configuration regularly, you can just pick from the states and go in and pick it. And in a little bit, I'll show you how I use that. There's also an FM2 Lite, which basically is FM2 with 2 directory containers and some of these features hidden. Next slide. Another one. This is the commands dialog. This is how you create custom commands, which you can assign hotkeys to. The one that's showing, even though you can't read it, is unlock, which it just is unlock exe with %A, so I can pick a DLL that I know is locked in one of the containers and then click on the context menu, pick commands, go down and pick unlock, and it'll unlock that DLL for me. Next slide. It also will remember things. You can save your settings. You can save the directories, a list of directories. It saves recently used directories. You can save search patterns, command lines. And the reason it says environment under that is it has a box to check to put in an environment. It doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is changing the environment is a lot more complex in that if I just were to put in 2 lines of environment there, I would lose all the rest of the environment because that would be the whole environment in that particular operation. So you have to actually add in all the rest of the existing environment. So it's more complex than we were willing to do than apparently Mark Kimes was willing to do because he was the one who originally put it in. Next slide. Okay, this I'm going to talk a little bit about how I use FM2 to do my work as a developer. Again, as I said earlier, for OS2, I don't use as the OS2 shell in config.sys. And so here's what I really do. The for OS2 icons that you can see on my Warp Center, those are all of my compiler environment setups. The one that's hashed is Watcom, the new Watcom 2.0. What happens is all these scripts will kill FM2 if it's running and then reopen it. The reason it kills it is because I want FM2 to inherit the correct environment, which is the environment that I'm setting up. It also changes the COM spec in the OS2 shell to 4OS2. Next slide. I have in FM2 a save state for every one of my projects. So I just simply go up to states, and if I want to build FM2, I just simply pick FM2, and what it does is it gives me the trunk directory of the source of FM2 in one container, and it gives me my test FM2 directory in the other container. The toolbar up across the top that I utilize for this has EFTE 2PM and QE, my 2 editors. And I happen to use QE for resources that are translated because I can set the code page in it so I don't just get total utter garbage when I open the file. It also has a 4OS2 icon so I can open that. I have my SVN, my Java SVN, and Git and CVS programs. I have a program calculator, C++ check, a debugger, PMPrintf. So basically all the tools that I need for my projects. Next slide. My FM2 viewer is QE, and my editor is EFTEPM, so that I can open them that way too if I don't want to use the toolbar. I can open them from the menu as either the viewer or the editor. Then I use FM2's seek and find to find resources outside of my build tree. And I use grep out of which is built into EFTPM to search the build tree. Next slide. Yeah, so since I can start 4OS2 from the toolbar in FM2, it opens with focus on the directory that I have highlighted in OS2, so I can just open it in to that directory. Then a lot of my commands, I use the aliases, which, for example, BFM2, it's the commands to build it. It's actually command to build the DLL, which is the only thing that changes very frequently. And then a couple of other commands to build the sims and to build, then release tool is actually a script that I use to build the warp in for OS2 or FM2. When I need to access the help files for, say, Wattcom's help files or OS2's programming references and things like that, all of those are built into the editor's help file or help menu so that I can just pick them out. Next slide. Well, for me, this means that everything that I need for building something is easily accessible. And if I end up with a project where I need something that I don't readily have, it's quite easy for me to add it to my toolbar and to continue to work on it. Next slide. Here's some of the things that changed recently in FM2. Fix the drag and drop into a tree container. It had a lovely way of, on the first subdirectory, that it would give you that little no drops symbol for no particularly good reason, except that that's what it wanted to do. So I fixed that. This is the other EA thing that I was going to mention, is the way you program the size of EAs is there's a box or a variable that you can get that you divide by 2 and it gives you the size of the EAs. Because supposedly that particular variable is the size of the buffer you would need to load the EA. That's just what it claims, which of course makes absolutely no sense, because if you have a 32K EA, why would it need 32 Ks of overhead to be opened when a 5K buffer only needs 5 of overhead? I think the real overhead is 8, by the way, 8 bytes, but anyway, that's what it reports back. So the interesting thing about that means that if you do that, any EA bigger than 32 kilobytes shows as 65,535 in this U short. So you can't put a number bigger than that in it. Fortunately, it doesn't overflow itself. So if your EA is bigger than that, you have to go out, open up the EA, and actually calculate the size of each of the individual pieces, add them together, and that's the size of the EA. Well, that's what I'm now doing, and that's what apparently CMD does. Because I also had to fix this in 4OS2. And what's even more interesting is if you do the standard calculation of the EA size on an EA that's small enough so that that's supposed to work, and then do it the other way, they're always 3 or 4 bytes different. However, I'm sure that CMD is doing it the same way. It's dividing by that number by 2 on the small ones and then adding them all together on the large ones. Because on every EA I've checked, they match. In other words, if I calculate every EA down to the smallest ones by adding up the offsets within it, I'm always a few bytes off of the other calculation. But CMD has to be doing it the other way because it matches the other calculation.
Right. Are you talking about data size of the EA or the complete EA?
Complete EA.
Because that varies per type of EA. And it even varies in MVMT EAs with the name of the EA, so as ASO table, which is the biggest problem.
Yeah, and like I said, the two different calculations don't match. And it's a couple of bytes and probably doesn't matter, but it's just an interesting finding. Fix some parsing errors. And the new file open container that comes with ArcOS, the one from the Russians, and the old IBM file container have some odd differences in the way they handle certain things. And so I put in a workaround on that. I've also put in a ticket, which I'm not optimistic is ever going to get touched, but and then on unformatted, if you had an unformatted hard drive and you opened its context menu, you got the file container context menu, not the drive's container context menu, which I now have fixed. Next one. Just a few cosmetic changes. The ugliest one was the compare directories, which used to have where there was a file missing on one side, meaning it wasn't in the directory, it would still show 0 size, 0 EAs, and a 0 timestamp for reasons that, well, are now fixed. And the percent used on large drives didn't account for how big the number was. So even if like 5% of the drive was used, it might show 95% used because it wasn't calculating the right thing. And a couple of other things. Next slide. A few issues that I actually might address. Context-sensitive help is only partially implemented. I mean, you can get help everywhere, but it doesn't always take you to where you really would need to be. May put in relative directory support for archivers. CUA standard keys. I add archivers support for the WPI files. And FM2 Lite, move copy defaults to the other container. There are two containers. It defaults to the second container. Extract defaults to the container you're in, which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Next slide. And I have an almost complete German translation. And Michael in Austria volunteered to do that, and I took him up on it, and it's now just a question of some dialogue sizing because it has some clip texts in some places.
Greg, privately I'd like to ask you if I can get the name of that translator, maybe I can use him, if he wants to. It's on this slide. Email address?
I'll ask him if it's okay, and if it's okay with him, I'll send it to you. It won't be until July, though. I know. So, next slide, and you can probably faintly see those the menu items are in German. Next slide. And as always, development help is welcome. anybody wants to translate it to Dutch, we're happy to let you try. I will warn you that the resource files for this are huge. It lies. It says the binaries are on Hobbes. The recent problems with Hobbes resulted in the latest one vanishing somewhere along the line. I had uploaded it, but it's not there anymore. So I have to at some point re-upload it. It is on NetLab, so. And I think that it's 327 is the version that's the latest. I released it a month ago, maybe a little more. Any questions? Yeah.
Yes, could you consider uploading it also to the Warpin repository at rpmos2voice.org?
Yeah, I can.
Because then actually starting using and advertise it on NetLabs as well. Because that's the whole circle being around. Updated version, and the package manager can notify you, and you can download it and install it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Just upload it and let me know, and then I can push it to releases then.
Okay. It won't be there until July 1st
No,
because I won't be home until then.
No, no problem.
That's why it's not working for me.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a seat, please?
No.
Okay. Okay, I hope everybody enjoyed Warpstock Europe. I've lost track how many Warpstocks I did. I think the first one I did was Warp Weekend in 2002. I've been involved with the Germans one, so I probably did more than 15 Warpstocks by now, but I never quit. So hopefully see you next year again. Where and when we'll still need to figure out. Thank you for coming in from out of the US and Germany. And this is Amersfoort, Netherlands, signing off, saying goodbye to everybody. See you online in the forums, or maybe see you next year, and thank you for coming.